Hi everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, coming to you from my parents' Zone 8 garden in Aiken, South Carolina. I gave you all a tour in late August and I thought it would be nice to do an update since I'm down here this weekend and show you how the garden's evolved over the last 6 weeks. And I can tell you I have sage envy. Here is a huge, beautiful stand of Salvia leucantha. I remember planting this, I guess about two and a half years ago. And wow, look at this. It's completely filled with bees, and actually in the afternoons they have all these monarchs that are just floating around all over the yard, and I'm actually, I think jealous is actually the real word that I have here. But let's go ahead and do a walk around on their beautiful property here in Zone 8, Aiken, South Carolina. So this is their front yard border, and she calls it the meadow. And right now it's just so spectacular with these Salvia leucantha in full bloom. You can see these velvety flowers. And here's of course milkweed. She had a whole bunch of monarch caterpillars this week, and I've just flabbergasted at how many, oh, I see monarchs now over here in the sun, at how many monarchs they have here. We don't have any at my house. It's so disappointing. And usually I do have at least some. This is the first year I've had none. But I'm happy to see them here. They have a great space with lots and lots of nectar and plenty of food for their caterpillars because there's milkweeds planted all throughout these borders. And yeah, I am so jealous of these Salvia leucantha. Mine are like so small in comparison. And that does show you there's a big difference between Zone 7 where I live and Zone 8 here in the Aiken area. I definitely have always wanted to live in Zone 8, but it's nice to live vicariously through my parents. They're doing a great job with their garden. Now, one thing about this neighborhood is they have a huge deer population, so all their camellias are in cages, which is kind of funny. Here's one that's full of buds. And of course this, what I learned is ageratum. I don't remember what its real name is now. That's definitely something that monarchs are taking advantage of. You can see there's a monarch floating around right there. Jenks Farmer, my good friend, fabulous designer and plantsman, owner of his Crinum farm, he designed this landscape and was really thoughtful about what to plant. And oh my gosh, you guys, it's osmanthus season, and like the entire town of Aiken smells absolutely heavenly. So if you've never smelled the fragrant tea olive, oh my gosh, I wish smell-o-vision existed. It's the most incredible fragrance. It's kind of like fresh apricot. It's sweet and light and delightful. And they have a lot of osmanthus here on their property. The whole city of Aiken has osmanthus all over the place. There's wonderful gardens all through this town. When you drive, that's like, it just is the smell of this area right now. It's so nice. You can see she's working on ground plane coverage. They still have a ways to go. It's difficult because the deer eat so much. Like, I'd originally been like, oh, plant sweet potatoes, but honestly, I don't even think they could grow sweet potatoes here because there's so many deer. But so, you know, that's a project to work on. I'm glad to see there is a lot of open space still, because at Thanksgiving, I'll be able to sow poppies and larkspur and fill in some of these open gaps. Again, this is an area that they have been working hard on to sort of just clean up and get more permanent shrubs put in so that it's less maintenance. So they have a nice mix of hardy lantanas and abelias, azaleas that I think like neighbors give them, gardenia, camellias in the cages. Oh, caged plants always make me giggle. I get it, it's necessary. It's just like, that poor camellia's in jail. So they have some figs planted and pomegranates right here. They actually have olives, which I'll show you. When I was here in August, it was fruiting. Overall, I think that they're doing a good job getting a lot of native plants put in. You see the pycnanthemum there. That's such a great plant for ground plane coverage. And you know, this is a big bed. This is a lot of square footage. There's a lot more planting that could be done to make this lower maintenance. So another thing I'm envious of is how they have so many longleaf pines, and these are just growing natively. You can see they're in their stage where they're going to start losing their old needles. I just think longleaf pines, it's Pinus palustris, is such a magnificent plant. And I often used pictures of their foundation landscape before they moved in as an example of, you know, just a bad landscape in general. Like, you know, it's just green meatballs. And they weren't even green. The poor encore azaleas that were planted here were bright yellow. So they were so nutrient deficient. And they had a Japanese maple that the understock had overgrown the grafted part. My mom's like, my Japanese maple is both green and red. I'm like, it's not supposed to be. But Jinx did such a good job with a whole new planting design, a lot of native perennials mixed into here, and it just looks good year round. I just think lots of cool colors and textures, and again, ground plane coverage. So when you cover the ground with plants, you won't have as much weed pressure. And let's face it, weeding is like the least fun part of gardening. I do like these mums that, you know, of course are perennial, just sort of filling in some holes. And when we come for Thanksgiving, all of this Tagetes lemonii will be in bloom. You see some encore azaleas are flowering now that it's fall. This is just such a practical plant because the deer absolutely hate the smell. It's a really gross fragrance, I'm not gonna lie. And this plant takes up a lot of room. It may not be the look for everyone, but if you have deer, this is a really practical plant to include in your landscape. And to prove to everyone that I do have the ability to share, I did bring my mom a whole bunch of those gourds that I got when I was in the mountains so that she can decorate with them. She likes fall decorating even more than I do. I love that she's planted so much milkweed that now it just seeds around. Look at how beautiful that is. So far untouched, but there's still some time before the monarchs actually migrate south. Of course, it is becoming pink muley grass season, and hers are actually a bit behind. I've seen others in their neighborhood that are in full flower. These are really just starting. They are so spectacular when they're in bloom, and they have a lot. And actually, I'm really shocked by this because for me, usually white cloud Muhlenbergia is like a month later than pink muley. And here, her white cloud is already in full bloom, while her pink muley, you can see up here, is just starting to put out its beautiful flowers. So it's kind of backwards. Again, up here at the street, you know, they have deer that just like walk the streets in this neighborhood. So having something like pycnanthemum is really great because, you know, it's a minty fragrance and the deer don't like that. So this is, you know, this is like prime deer browse area, and it shows that, like, I think these are self-sown vinca. She may have planted like 2 years ago and they just self-sow. And crepe myrtles and zinnias all do well. Her brugmansias have been blooming basically since spring. Oh, they're so beautiful and they smell so good. I still need to figure out what's going on with these Prunus mumes. and didn't follow up on that. Some sort of nutritional deficiency. Need to send that to NC State and figure out what's going on. I can't believe that this clematis is still in bloom. I have never really had success with clematis, but this is making me want to try. And they're still having some drama with their HOA regarding the new structure. I see he needs some drama in his life, you know. And of course the pool planters are just awesome. All the screening, it's really funny. We were sitting out here yesterday and there was something happening, but we couldn't see because they've done too good of a job screening. It's like they want to be nosy, but they can't because the plants are doing their jobs. And you can see in here, all of this evergreen screening is Osmanthus fragrans. And so the smell is so remarkable. It's just, oh gosh, it's honestly, it's one of those things that you're like, oh, I don't want to ever leave the South. Mark Wethington, the director of the Ralston Arboretum, always says, I never want to live anywhere that you can't grow osmanthus in. And I think he is spot on. They are so wonderful. And they're really lucky. Here in Aiken, they actually bloom for a really long time, like well into winter. So I'm jealous. Jealous is the word today. And Mom's doing a great job with her container tomatoes. Wait till I show you the cream sausage over there. These planters are just so beautiful. Having irrigation definitely makes a big difference. Here we have a hydrangea that Dr. Durr gave me back in June. And then look at this cream sausage. It's doing so well. It's been harvesting tons of fruit. Still my favorite tomato. The Gin Fizz, which I posted on Instagram today, is a very close second. Gin Fizz is such a good, delicious slicer, whereas this is a really great paste variety. And I see my team over here.
Good morning. Ahoy.
Ahoy. They're at the land yacht. Toasting another fabulous first weekend of October.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Cheers way over there. Cheers to you. I can't reach you, dear. All right.
She's in the sun, kids.
Well, I hope you all have enjoyed this morning's garden tour from my parents' fabulous garden here in Aiken, South Carolina. We're wishing you all the best. Have a great week, everybody, and thanks so much for watching.
Cheers.
Bye. Even got Teddy.